Hello, welcome to MTAC Dueling Dragons. Happy to be back for another year, and happy to be joined by David Matranga. David, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. It's exciting.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get the easy stuff out of the way. What's some stuff that you've been working on lately that you can share with us?
Oh gosh, I can't. And the immediate stuff I can never talk about. There's
right.
man, it's serious business.
Yes.
But I just did Ken Masters in the new Street Fighter 6 video game.
Yes.
Which I love to talk about. It was a pleasure and honor to kind of take that role and run with it. They did a lot of different things with this version of it. So that I've been doing more video games than I have in a while. I did Zelkov in Fire Emblem Engage. I'm trying to think of what else. Trigun Stampede, Nicholas Wolfwood in that, in the kind of the reboot or remake of that. And then I did a one season show called Buddy Daddies that, when I first was cast in that, I was like, okay, let's see what this is. And then every episode, I just kind of fell more in love with it. It's such a great story. So, yeah, those are the things that come to mind off the top of my head.
That's fantastic. I have enjoyed and heard quite a bit of you in Street Fighter 6.
Yeah.
As a Ken main.
Yeah, it's exciting, man.
Yeah. I can only imagine at this point, growing up with that franchise, just like, oh hey, I'm in this game.
Yeah, it was exactly that. It was wild. It was like I played these games, and and then the backstory. I don't know if they released some comics and that kind of tell the backstory of like almost the prequel of Street Fighter 6.
Yeah, so it's hard up these days.
Yeah, so it was fun to take on that different version. But you're right, man. I remember before it launched, there was some, leaks of the character images and things like that, and the internet was going crazy with what's going on with Ken. He's divorced, like hashtag Hobo Ken, and like all this stuff. And I knew, but I'm just sitting there, just kind of smiling, like, oh my God, it's crazy. But yeah, it was cool to see.
Yeah. Hopefully he gets back on his feet.
Yeah, I think
it's rough out there.
I hope they keep adding to the story, in whatever way that shows up, it would be cool to do that. Yeah.
Well, what made you first take an interest in acting?
Man, that's a great question. I found acting. Well, I did some acting as a kid. I was taking a summer school class or something, and I took a drama class, and I kind of fell into some roles there that were fun, and it was the first time I was kind of recognized as a kid. This was like 4th, 5th grade, Yeah. And then I played a musical instrument through middle school, and then I found acting again in high school, and I was really kind of solidified, and it was like, I love this. I love storytelling. I love being a part of a story, being figuring out what makes a character tick. All that stuff really jived with me, and the impact that it can have on other people. And so I did that all through high school, and then I thought, man, I wanted to go straight to LA after high school, and my parents were like, why don't you go try college for a year, and if you don't like it, then we can revisit this conversation. So I ended up liking it, and I got a degree in acting. I was very much into the craft of it and the training of it. Some of my inspirations were just, really highly trained, like theater actors that I respected growing up. And so, yeah, that's kind of set me off on and then in college, I thought, how do I really do this? You start to think like, man, I really want to do this with my life. I know it's not easy. It's a challenging profession. And that's when a friend of mine said, well, let's look into like the voiceover world. Maybe that could be a way to, have other ways to act. And so we started, like, we brought a guy in from LA and we trained commercially. And that was kind of my first hint of like, oh, voice acting's a thing too. And then, I can go on, but so that's how I found it. And that's, And then, with anything creative like that, and really anything, you just have to keep asking yourself, all right, what's the next thing? Do I like this? How do I reinvent this? Or, you have to be creative with your own career in a way. So, yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Who would you say has had the biggest impact on your career?
It's not really anybody who is necessarily a famous name. I grew up in Houston, and so I grew up going and watching actors at the Alley Theater. And there was an actor there that was a part of the company of actors that they would, and I remember being in college, and I'd come back, and that was back in the day when you could go up to the box office and buy like a $15 cash ticket or whatever and just see the show, and I went into a play, and this person was playing the lead role in an Arthur Miller play called A View from the Bridge. And I just remember having this thought, and I've told this story before to him as well, but having this thought, I don't know exactly in my training where I was as an actor. I thought, I don't know what he's doing up there, but whatever it is, that's what I want to do. It's so amazing. It was so real. It was electric, and just I was totally taken in. I remember the play ended, and I was just like, where am I? What's happened? And so that was one of my biggest inspirations. I was like, really, I came out of there going, I don't know what he was doing, but I want to do what he was doing. Now I feel like I understand what he was doing. I later, full circle, got to work on a world premiere play. This actor was directing it. So yeah, that's one of the things that always comes to mind. But then there are other actors that over the years in film and television that I've been inspired by. The show. I don't know if you guys watch the show Succession, but that show is such a good show, man. I mean, like the storytelling is so extreme. It's intense. If you looked at the script just on paper, you'd be like, no way, they're not going to do this. Like, this wouldn't be believable. This is insane. These are crazy choices. But you've got those actors and those writers that are writing it. And, dude, it's such a good show. So things like that really inspire me.
So anime often involves voicing characters that are part of a larger cultural context. Mm-hmm. How do you ensure authenticity and respect for the cultural nuances of the characters you portray, especially when they come from backgrounds that are different from your own?
Yeah, my best way to answer that is you have to live in each moment that the character's going in. If you live it and try and portray it as authentically as possible, then you kind of can't go wrong. I mean, my methodology around that, people ask me, like with Shoto Todoroki, for example, how have you traversed that journey? How have you made sure that it was all layered in there? So like in season 1 or 2, when we find out about his backstory, how do you make sure that jives and works with like what he's going through in season 6?
Mm-hmm. It's a very complex transition that he has.
Yeah, and that's one of the things I love about anime in general is you really get to do a lot of challenging acting work that you might not get to do in other things on television, on stage. I've been asked to do some of the most dramatic stuff. Attack on Titan comes to mind. Where, extreme situations are happening and you really have to put yourself there. So the way I stay, my answer to that question is, if I'm truthful and in the moment with what Shoto is going through in season 1, and I just stay that way with each change, then it will be a cohesive journey. You know what I mean? And I also have a lot of respect for the Japanese creators, the voice actors. They're the original creators, so I always take my cues from them as to what did they do in this moment. Well, let's take that and translate, make sure it works for an English dub, and try to stay as truthful to it as I can.
For sure. Do you have any concrete examples of times when you had to emotionally relate to a character that was like a difficult time relating to a character?
Yeah, I mean, so the thing that we're challenged to do as actors really is, there's an old acting training kind of ideology of like, when you first get a character, you kind of find out, all right, what are the things in that character that are like me? Mm-hmm. So and then you go, all right, well, I don't have to work on those that much, right? Because they're already sort of like me. What are the things that are not? And then you have to figure out a way to layer those in. I mean, acting is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, right? Like it's all, that's Sanford Meisner, big acting teacher, said that, living truthfully under those imaginary circumstances. So what I always explain to people is it's kind of like your imagination on steroids. So we all have imaginations. We're story making machines. You're creating stories, sometimes where there isn't any, right? In our lives and our relationships. So you just take those things and you layer them into the imagination so much that they become and feel real. So like Nicholas Wolfwood in Trigun Stampede, like I'm not really like him, he's so cool and I'm just not, like, and so it's weird when I step in to record, my physicality changes. I stand a little differently. My shoulders are a little different. And that's how I feel like I get the voice to be authentic. But concrete examples, Wolfwood is one of them. Bertholdt Hoover, Attack on Titan, the whole what they were doing from the beginning, like I can't relate to that level of deception or brainwashing or whatever you want to call it. And that one's a hard one. I have people come up and say, he was a traitor, and I'm like, there's another saying that, as an actor, you never play a villain because you don't feel like a villain. You don't, when you're portraying it, I think of Stain from My Hero, for example. He's one of my favorite villains, like maybe in anything.
I don't consider him a villain at all.
Right. But there are people that disagree with his ideology. There are people that disagree with the way he goes about his ideology. So like, if I'm voicing a character like that, you figure out why they do what they do and what makes them tick, and you get so behind it that it feels like the right thing.
Definitely, because otherwise you're just lying to yourself while you're trying to portray somebody.
Yeah, and for me, that's the fun of it. It's like, why is this person the way they are? Why do they make the choices they make? And if I do that, then it's going to be real and it's going to be authentic. Sure. Yeah.
I mean, it kind of goes right off of what you're saying about Bertholdt in Attack on Titan. Fans of anime are often deeply passionate and invested in the characters that they love. How do you navigate the relationship between yourself as the voice actor and the fan base, especially when there are maybe differing interpretations and expectations for your characters?
That's a great question. One of the things I like about storytelling and acting and anime and any type of storytelling is it creates, or in an ideal world, it creates a conversation, right? And I don't think we have enough conversation in life. We get into black and white thinking and taking sides. And so when I get into really deep conversations on some of my panels because a lot of my characters are deep that way. They ask people to ask weird questions of like, do I believe in this? Is this good? Is this... So I get into crazy, when I'll do a solo panel or something at a convention, it gets awesome. But I love that. I love like authentic conversation. So when someone comes up and they're really opinionated about it, I do what I do naturally with any human being or even a character. I'm so curious about that. So I always ask them, like, why do you feel that way? Like, tell me, why do you think Endeavor should never be forgiven? Like, why do you think, or why do you feel like he's doing better? And then they start to talk, and then I can give my opinion. So it becomes less about having to navigate it and more about we're just having a conversation. Yeah. And people, it's funny, like people want to be heard about their stuff, about what they think. And we don't do enough of that either, So sure. Yeah, I dig it. I love that stuff because I've been asked on panels before, what is your opinion about Endeavor and what he did? And it's tough because there are people out there who lived through real life trauma, abuse, who feel strongly about it. I mean, and it's beautiful to be able to talk to people about it. But it is a fine line. You can't say like, well, I think this, because people have so many different ideas about it. And it really isn't my job either to really come down on one side or the other opinion-wise, because I can't close myself off to that either as a person. I got to stay open to whatever Shoto's going to do. And it's been interesting. He's sort of walking this weird line with Endeavor, you know? To go to the Attack on Titan example, I mean, you see Bertholdt like kind of beg for his life in like the end of season 2, and it's like, that seems real. Mm-hmm. And I think too, I know I get really deep really quickly, but
I love that.
Cognitive dissonance. We live in a world of cognitive dissonance where you can believe one thing, but you also believe this thing. And so Bertholdt's begging for his life, even though knowing that he's kind of set all these people up. I don't know. I think life is gray like that. We don't live in black and white. Black and white is easy because it's like, yeah, okay, this is this, right? Let's name that. That's right, because that makes me feel safe. This is this. But it's never really like that. It's always somewhere in the middle.
I mean, I think that speaks a lot to also the character of Shoto, who's, you know, ice and fire.
There you go.
Very black and white.
Yeah.
And his journey of discovering the gray in himself and
right.
his relationship with his father. I
right.
think so far, I've absolutely loved that
right.
storyline. It's been, I mean, my favorite so far in
yeah.
the anime.
I love it too. You know, when you're trained, you know, to, I mean, he was basically told from a young age, this is what you're good for. You're trained to be the best, to be the number one hero, to be a soldier, to be whatever. And that can make you feel, as you know, get older, like, who am I really? What am I about? And so I think that's where he starts. He gets into UA and he got in on recommendation and legacy and all that. And he's powerful, yeah, and he's got 2 core and all that. But he has to learn to, like, figure out who he is. And season 2, Deku helps him do that. And yeah, it's a great journey. It's a great journey.
Acting is such a competitive field. And one of the things that always just amazes me about actors, even, you know, the successful ones, that for every role you get, you know, there's 10, 20, 100 that you don't.
Oh, yeah.
How do you stay motivated?
You know, I was once asked this I was in a small film class at a college, and it was just like, you know, a table of like 12 of us or something. And it's hard. You have to figure out what your engine is, you know, and that's the way I phrased it then. And I like that idea of like, what is your engine? Like, why do you do this thing? Why do you keep doing it? I mean, I've had friends over the years that have very happily and just decided to stop acting and have moved on with their lives and have great lives. They're very happy. There's no, you know, and for some reason I never did. And I sometimes ask myself that, like, why? I wonder what I'm still doing here. This is crazy, you know, because it is. It can be really hard. You can get really wrapped up in the business side of it and wanting roles and not understanding why you didn't get one, or, you know, because the way we learn that we didn't get a role is someone else announces that they got it, or you're just watching a show. I've auditioned for commercials before, you know, major big commercials, and I'll be watching something and the commercial comes on and I'm like, oh, I auditioned for that. That's right. Okay, so this is the choice that they made. You know, very different from my voice, you know, or whatever. Honestly, at the end of the day, there's some, you know, I think it's some part compulsion, like it's just a part of me, it's in me to do it. And then the other is I couldn't answer this when I was younger, but just that idea of being a part of something that has an impact on people, honestly. And that's what's beautiful about going to conventions is you get to talk to people separately about, you know, this show means this to me because of this, you know, or Shoto means this to me, and that at the end of the day, like, that's the real gift of being an actor, is to have that kind of an impact. So I always feel grateful that I'm a part of My Hero and Trigun and Attack on Titan and Street Fight, whatever it is, because those reach different people, you know. But it's hard to answer specifically. There's something in me that, even when it's rough, because you have spans where it's like, man, what am I just, maybe I've been fooling myself this whole time. Maybe I'm actually not good. You know, like you have those thoughts of like, what? Maybe this has all just been a fluke, imposter syndrome. Or this is, but something about it, I just jump back in the booth and keep going. It's hard to answer, but there's something in there that I feel that it's like me sharing a part of myself at the end of the day. And in a way, that's what we're all driven to do in some way, Yeah,
I can tell just sitting here listening to you talking about it that this is something you're passionate about.
Yeah.
Really comes through.
It is. And, I've done some coaching and acting teaching here and there. I taught a semester of auditioning at a college, and I love to talk to people who are actors who are training and so yeah, I love the craft of it. I love the idea of it, and I could talk about it forever,
What are some of the interests you have outside of acting?
I love my family. My sister has 4 kids, my niece and 3 nephews. I love to hang out with them. I really, really do. I'm close with my family. I'm close with my mom. For better or for worse, sometimes we butt heads, but so that's something that's really important to me. I've learned that about myself over the years. I didn't know that was true at the beginning. I like to play basketball. I'm a huge basketball fan. My niece is a freshman in high school this year, and she just got finished with her JV season, so I got to go to a bunch of those games. So that was kind of 2 things combining, like being with family and supporting, and then basketball, and she's into it. And so that, gosh, I like to...
Rockets fan?
Yeah, I am. Yeah. It's hard...
I was guessing through the whole Houston.
Yeah, it's hard to be a fan of that. I mean, they're doing great right now.
Since Yao Ming and Tracy McGrady.
I know, yeah.
Well, they're
and then
Harden.
I know, Harden. For a while, I followed Harden. Like, I was like, even when he left Houston, I was like, okay, Brooklyn. I lived in Brooklyn before. Let's go. And he just continues to disappoint, man.
Yeah, it's the same story.
I know. And I kind of, again, too much empathy. I think when you're an actor, you have to have some amount of empathy. Yeah. And sometimes I go, dude, what are you doing, man? Like, you're this great player. And what are you doing? This is going to be your legacy. So yeah, that I'm trying to think of, I like to eat. I like food. Yeah. I'm sure some other things will pop up. Those are the main 3, the big 3. Food, family, and basketball, I guess. Yeah, I like to be active, I actually tore my Achilles tendon right before, so I'm still walking. I just got out of my boot like 2 weeks ago, and it's a major injury.
Yeah. Still working on flexibility.
Oh yeah, flexibility and strength. It takes 3 days for your calf muscle to start to atrophy. So that means I was off of my leg for like 80 days. So when I took the cast off and the boot off, it's like, I never knew what muscle tone meant, because I can feel my left calf and then you feel the right one and it's like nothing. It's like marshmallow.
I broke my tibia and I had a full cast and I was down there for 6 months, and when they took it off,
oh my God,
it was shriveled.
Yeah.
And I was so scared. My leg.
Yeah.
In high school, when I care about my
appearance,
dude. I'm like, I'm gonna have.
I'm at one skinny leg. Yeah, I know, dude. And it's freaky. I know, you're done. Yeah, that's your new name, Skinny Leg. Yeah, it's rough. So anyway, that happened right before Christmas, and I had surgery, and it's good though. It's on the up and up.
Yeah, good. Like, I know that's a major injury, even for like professional athletes.
Dude,
how hard a time they have coming back.
Yeah.
Like, man, if they're having a hard time.
I mean, sometimes it's like the career ender.
Yeah, it can be. Like, I mean, back in the day before we had surgery, it was like it put you from being mobile to, all right, well, you're not going to walk anymore.
Yeah.
It's amazing to realize how much the calf and that tendon actually performs the walking motion. Like when I try to put and you do shift your weight completely from one leg to the other. I never thought about that, the mechanics of that, but now I think about it and it's like, wow, yeah, it's intense.
Well, hopefully you continue to recover.
Yeah, it's been going well. I had a great surgeon, and the physical therapists are awesome, and so yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, the only thing I have on my mind is we are really excited for the new My Hero movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I know you probably can't share anything about that.
I really don't even know that much about it. Okay. I mean, the thing is we're kind of in the dark a bit sometimes. Like, we know what we see on social media and stuff, but yeah.
We're ecstatic for it.
Me too. I'm really glad that they're doing another one. The movies, the sort of trend of anime movies is awesome. They're really making. I've seen all of the 3 other ones on the big screen, and
that's amazing. I mean, I can't. World Heroes just on like my 4K TV was unreal.
Yeah, when we were in the theater watching that, I was like, man, this holds up on a big screen. Well, it's really cool. I
love it when studios are able to do movies, because then you get movie budgets and just animation just. Is off the charts.
Yeah, it's just amazing how far anime has come in general, and video game. But I've been started doing anime back in the day when, I mean, it wasn't what it is now. That's for sure. But yeah, I'm excited about that movie, and then the 4th season's coming out as well, and
it caused major contentions that last season in our household.
Oh yeah,
because you were talking about empathy, and I mean, Succession, I could watch like the first 6 episodes.
Yeah.
And I couldn't. It tore me apart. My empathy, I was like, this is draining me.
Right.
And then the last season of My Hero almost got me in a fight with him, because I was like, why would you make me watch this? And then Muriel comes on screen, and I was like,
oh that's right. That's right. I mean, it's so season 6, like, there wasn't a weak thing in it. Like, they went for it every episode. Yeah. I think. People always ask me, what was your favorite seasons? And it used to be 2, and 6 has now taken over, because it's
for sure.
And just what the Todoroki family goes through in that as well.
I mean, the best parts of any sort of on-screen thing is character development. And Endeavor and Shoto's character development is again my favorite part.
Yeah.
I think it's so. It's really deep, and it hits me really hard.
Yeah, same. I remember when we first recorded like the Origins episode in season 2, where you start to learn like all that backstory. Oh man, I was just riveted. I was like, this is awesome.
For sure.
Yeah.
David, thank you so much. This has been fantastic.
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. This is awesome.
Thanks for listening to yet another production of the OSMcast, your podcast for everything awesome. You can find us online at awesomecast.com, OSMCAST.com, or, wherever you find your podcast, just search for OSMcast. You can also find us on the social medias, OSMcast at Twitter or on Facebook. Of course, you can also find our wonderful interview guru, the greatest living interviewer, John Robbins, at J5 is Live. Or perhaps you'd like to follow our amazing editor, Anna, at Angel Darkfire, or just me at It's Basil Time on Twitter. Our theme song is produced by DJ Inabito, and you can find him online at djinabito.com. And once again, thanks for listening to the OSMcast. We appreciate you.